everyone. Another episode of Natives Podcast. I'm Harry MacArthur. I'm with Bob Thornton, and I have a very special guest today that I just love this woman, Diane Parker Owens, because I forget that, but just love the whole family, and her kids are just beautiful, and I adored her husband, and so this is just going to be a love fest from me, everything I say, because I adore her. So I'm going to turn it over to Bob now. And he's going to ask the questions.
And you may find out more about Harry than you wanted to know because somebody knows his whole story. So welcome. I'm really grateful that you're here.
Thank you.
And if you're comfortable, would you share with us where you're from and growing up and family and school and how you did?
Okay, I'm a local. I hate that sign says Hobe Sound local.
Yeah.
I mean, what does they have on the back of the cars there?
Yeah, HSL.
Yeah, I'm not. We need one that says Hobe Sound native. That's what I am, born and raised, and been here for 73 years. Only lived the block. I tell people I grew up in Banner Lake, one of the best places and ideal places to live in the whole wide world.
Yep.
A mile and a quarter from the beach. Everybody knew everybody at one time there when I grew up there. I'll tell you, I'll start back over. My parents, my mom was Diane Parker, and she started teaching school here in Martin County in 1944. She started off teaching at Stewart Training School in Stewart. And she worked there until 1950, and then she moved to Hobe Sound. And my dad was a local minister here. In fact, he was a minister at the AME Church on the curve, what we call, where the little black cemetery is there. That's been brought alive because of the Black Heritage Initiative. It used to be a church there, and it was ongoing until I don't remember what year, but it got burned down. But back behind that church spot there on Kingsley Street, there's 450 graves. We had a ground presentation done back there. But my dad was a minister at that little church at one time. But growing up in Banner Lake, well, back up. That area of Hobe Sound was called the McLean Quarters back in then, according to history. So black people lived all around there, and that's why that church was there. Okay, back into Hobe Sound. I was my dad's only child by my mom. I had a sister. Her name was Clara Bell Parker, and I didn't really get to know her until I was about 18 years old. She came to my high school graduation, and I grew to know her very, very good, all the way until her death. But I was the only child, and my mom taught at the Dunbar Elementary School in Hobe Sound, which was the only school here that blacks could go to in my time. There was another school here on Petway Street that was the first school, and that's right there on Petway, between Petway and US 1, between A1A and US 1. That was the first school in Hobe Sound that the black kids went to. I'll leave that history alone. I'll come back later and talk about that. But anyway, so my mom taught school there. When she first moved to Hobe Sound, according to my mom, her and my dad didn't have anywhere to stay. And back in those days, people were so friendly and open. We're not like that today. So when they showed up in town, people opened up their houses to them. And she tells me that Mrs. Preston, who had about 8 kids, said, "Come on, Miss Parker, you and Mr. Parker could stay in this room." And I keep thinking in my mind, what did she do with her children? So my mom lived there with them for a while they were building on her house there on the corner of Mars and Florida. And then Miss Preston, something happened. I guess she needed her room back. And so Miss Whitley Johnson said, "Miss Parker, you can come stay with me." And I think she had about 13 kids. And I keep thinking in my mind now, where did those kids go? But when you talk to the kids that their kids, they just loved my mom. And they made preparation for her, and she lived there with them until my dad built a house that's still there existing, and I was raised in it, and now I rent it out. But it's on the corner of Florida and Mars. So my mom taught at the Dunbar Elementary School. It was a 2-room school at first. It was her and Mr. Gilbert Miller. He was the principal there, and she was the teacher. And she taught, I think, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade at first. And then along came someone else to teach. I think it was Miss Jackson. And then they added on to it, and the first and second grade had their own little pod out on the side. So by the time I got ready to go to school, actually, Mrs. Ferguson across the street babysitted me, so I was halfway at the school half of the time to my mom's, because when I was bad, she took me over there to my mom. But anyway, back in those days, you can go to school when you got 4 years old, 4, because they didn't have kindergarten back in then. You can go to school. Your mom was a teacher, she can bring you to school. I think that was the worst mistake that ever happened. So I went to school, and when I went to school, I had to call my mom Miss Parker all while I was at school. And I had to be on good behavior because I was always used as an example. So I actually went to first grade 2 years. But then later on, as I talked to other people that was in my mom's class that she picked up in the neighborhood and brought to school early, she promoted them when they was 4 and 5. She didn't promote me. But anyway, that was hard. I had my mom for my first grade teacher. I don't know how many other people in the world has had that happen to them. But that was a hard year of school. And I would have had her for second grade, because we remember, she taught first and second. Mm-hmm. But along came, they did a count in the community, and there was going to be too many kids coming in for first grade. So they had to hire a second grade teacher. So then they hired Miss Oliver Nettles. Her and her family moved there from Washington, D.C. And so I didn't get my mom for second grade, because that would have meant I would have had her for 3 years. Yeah. That was a blessing. But anyway, as we moved up in the school time, they kept getting single teachers for each room. And I amazed Mr. Gilbert Miller, because he was an amazing man. He was the principal, he was the bus driver, and he taught 5th and 6th grade, all in the same room, and his office was in the corner. Lucky phone systems wasn't as busy as they are now, but it was just amazing how he did that. And later on, I think after we left, he hired a secretary to come in there, Gloria Patterson. She talked about it at her last interview when she learned how to drive a standing shift car. But I'll tell you, growing up in Banner Lake, everybody watched out for everybody. Some of the things that I see going on now, these kids don't even know what we did, because every afternoon we played bat ball. We made our own games because we didn't have computers and phones. The best game, I think, was taking a brick and putting it on the ground and doing jumping on one side or the other one. Somebody would stand on that side of the board and jump, 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 jump. And then if you fall off, then it's somebody else's time. I think that was kind of dumb. And another dumb thing that we made for toys.
It was fun.
It was fun. Another thing we did for toys was we'd find an old tire. Everybody claimed the tire. And we would put water in that tire and run around town. And whoever tire had the last, they lost. They were out. And you just keep going until the person win. Yep, and we played bat ball. And bat ball consists of tennis ball. You hit it with a broomstick. And we had bases, like you beat down a can, and that was a base on each corner. And we just was creative. Yeah. We drew hopscotch in the streets. And I don't think we had chalk. We stole paint and painted it in the streets. We went in somebody's garage and stole paint and painted the hopscotch in the streets. And we played marbles, shooting marbles. Kids don't know that about any of that right now. But that made you close. You got very close to your friends. You knew everybody. And paper dolls. People don't know about that. The girls play paper dolls. The guys, I'll tell you another good one that we did when we were kids. The guys had BB guns. And they would go shoot birds. And we would sneak on that same property where my house is now. Somebody would steal a frying pan out their mom's house. And the guys, we would cook them birds and eat them.
Oh, jeez.
Yep. We get oil, we would steal salt and go in the woods and cook. Kids don't know what life is having fun, especially in the summer. But, that's growing up. And we always had church. We're not going to leave our religion. Because kids now, I think nobody goes to church. Banner Lake has always been a church community, it seems like to me when I look around. Because we have a church on every corner. We had an AME church down by the cemetery. We had a primitive Baptist church on the other corner. We had a Missionary Baptist Church on another corner, right in the middle. And then we had the CME Church. But even though we had all those churches in Banner Lake, we all came together on the fourth Sunday for Union Sunday School. And that was a fun time when everybody got to come together and have Bible study, Sunday school together.
That's fantastic.
Uh-huh. And everybody supported everybody's church back in those days. But now the churches are falling apart because, as I would say, one time in my life, even my daddy being a minister and my mom being a teacher, I decided that I didn't want to go to church after my dad died. I said, I'm not going down there to that AME church no more. They stay in church too long. Because you would leave at 9:30 and sometimes you didn't get back home till 1. And if somebody got the Holy Spirit, oh my God, you'd be there till 2 o'clock. So when I was about 13, my mom says, I don't care as long as you go to some church where they'll be talking about Jesus. I decided to go to the Catholic church out here. So I went and talked to the lady at the Catholic church in the office, and I think it was Father Murray that was there at the time. And I talked with him, and so I took catechism at the Catholic church because the lady down the street, Brenda, I know she used to go to that church, and I said, well, I'm going to be like Brenda. Because before we get to church, they was already through with church. And I was just tired of that long service down there. So I went and started going to Catholic church. And I was taking my lessons to be a Catholic. And when it got time for that confession thing, I said, oh, no, that ain't the way I was taught in my church back home. I told the lady, I said, I don't think I'm coming back here anymore. I said, we're supposed to go to Jesus for ourselves. And I quit going to the Catholic church. And by that time, I didn't go anywhere. My mom had a job at Jupiter at the South Haven. And she thought I would be going to church, but I wasn't going nowhere. I would leave the house, but I didn't. And finally, I got fed up and I went back to my old church. And I stayed in that church, and we built a new church down there. And that was part of that. But anyway, as we go along the years in Banner Lake, everybody knew everybody. We was kind of self-sufficient there.
Very much so.
Very self-sufficient. We had stores, grocery stores. My godmother, Miss Turner, she had a store. In fact, she had a laundromat, and then she had a lodge on top of the laundromat. But her store was like in the center of town. And then we had Mr. Wilson and Miss Wilson. He had the gas station. And I think he had the number 2 phone booth at his gas station because Miss Louise Lewis on the corner had the other phone booth. Because phones were very limited.
Yes. People
had party lines and phones was very limited. People would get calls at everybody's house and you would go out and get the person to their house. You got a phone call. You think about that today. People don't even know who lived next door to them. They don't even speak to them. But anyway, we had the gas station, and his wife was a beautician, so she had a beauty shop across the street in her house. It was set up very nice. And everybody used to say, if you go to Miss Wilson to get your hair done, your neck going to be all burnt up because she'll burn you up with that darn straightening comb. But people still had to go to her. You come back, boy, your head be so ooey. Because they use hot curls, because, we had that kinky hair.
Yeah.
And they had to straighten it out before they curled it. Praise God for permanents that came in. Those white people invented those permanents for us. And that would burn you up, too, because they didn't know what they were doing. You'd get burned from perms, too. But anyway, and up on the front of town, you had Miss Louise that had a little store, and she sold penny cookies and most of the things you needed to survive. And then you had Mr. Henry Watson across the street, and they had a cafe. And in the back of there, they had a garage with rooming houses on top. And then you had Mrs. Martin, and she was the cook. Everybody went there. They went to work. The laborers got their lunch from her. They ate breakfast and dinner. And then they got drunk and had the bar. And she served the wine and everything there. And then they had people come for entertainment at night. And then you had Mr. Lorraine. He had the laundry. He did it in Stewart, but he delivered it out here in Hobe Sound. We were pretty sufficient because at Miss Turner store, she had a meat counter, and she had meats in her counter. She was my godmother. And it was always funny when we went there as a group of kids with our little pennies. And she would say, Diana, stay back. I got to talk to you. But when I stayed back, she always gave me, I liked the bunny end of that bologna. The bologna,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
That bunny, she always
Oh.
saved that for me.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, I
that's
got
great.
some for you. And she handed it to me. Don't let the other kids see it. If she didn't have that, she'd give me an extra cookie or something. But that was because she was my godmother. She took good care of me. Everybody took good care of everybody in Banner Lake.
Yes.
Because
Watch out.
if you didn't do good, sometimes they didn't tell your parents. They whipped your butt.
Yeah.
Back then, the rod was not spared.
Yeah.
And nobody knew anything about no DCF. That was not even a word or vocabulary back then. It was called, you did something bad, you got it. And I look back over time now, and I see what crime with young kids are. We didn't have that.
No.
We did not have that. We had a couple kids that used to, one kid that was in my class that stole money from out of the Catholic Church one time. And I remember he went to the boys' school in Okeechobee. But we just didn't have people just doing bad things. We did do some bad things, but it was simple bad things, not to hurt anybody or to steal or break in somebody's house. I never had a key to my mom's house growing up, and I don't think nobody did. Now I don't leave my house without locking it and putting an alarm on.
Yeah.
But if my mom was cooking in the kitchen and she needed a cup of flour, because big groceries wasn't accessible, and it was Miss Cohen or Mrs. St. Orange was closed, you couldn't get it. And she said, go down to Miss Ida Lou. If she's not home, just go in there and get me a cup. Here's the cup. I knew right where to go, and I didn't go and buy nothing else in her house. You just went there and got it, and the sugar or whatever. But now I wouldn't trust none of them kids in my house. It was just so ideal growing up in Banner Lake. We didn't always have paved streets, And I tell you another thing. In the summer, the kids would go in that Banner Lake back there. That's, if you don't know how the name Banner Lake got to be Banner Lake, there is a lake in Hobe Sound in Banner Lake that they named Banner Lake. I've never got the conclusion. I need to look that up. Maybe somebody else have. Why they called it Banner Lake. I'm quite sure there's a reason for that. And I haven't really looked into it. But it was clean. It's not clean now.
No. But
it was very clean. And actually, when I joined the church when I was like 12 or 13, everybody knew that when you got a certain age, you had to sit on the front of the bench at the church. And called getting ready to be a member. Because they used to say when you got past 13, you was on your own sins. And you had to join the church. And you had to sit when they had the revival. You had to sit in the front. And them sisters would be looking at you, shaking their head like it's your time now. But anyway, when I got baptized, it was about 10 of us. And we got baptized in the Banner Lake. And it's amazing that people didn't take pictures back in them.
No.
Now we would have 100 pictures of that. But we all got baptized in the Banner Lake. There were alligators in there. Yep, there was. But in the summer, I'll tell you, everybody learned how to swim in the Banner Lake but Diane. Because I wasn't going down there because my mom had already told me. Don't go to that Banner Lake. Don't go down there. You'll get drowned. The alligators will eat you. But everybody, I would go stand on the side and watch everybody. They would take a bleach bottle and put on the back of their back. That was a flotation.
Was it?
Yeah, you take a bleach bottle in the belt tied on you. And that floated you. Yeah, my husband used to talk about that a lot. And so you learn how to, I call people
That's
that.
a good idea.
You learn how to make do with what you had.
Yep.
People now, we got to go to Amazon for everything. Nobody think about being creative for anything. I used to fuss at my husband until he died. Stop being so cheap trying to fix something. Just buy a new one. Because that's the era that they grew up in. Yep. But the new generation, they're not going to fix things. They're just going to buy another one. But swimming with that bottle on you. And they never had any of those things the kids have now where they put on their arms. Yeah. That's what they used to use, a Clorox bottle or a big bottle and put on the back. But they all learned to swim. I didn't. There's a few of us that didn't go down there. But that's where they went to learn. Okay, another interesting thing is we always had to go to the grocery stores across town. And I can remember we never had credit cards or anything, but people used to put stuff on the book.
Yep.
Even in our neighborhood stores, if you went to Miss Louise, Mr. Turner, you say, give me 10 potatoes or whatever. And you say, my mom said, put it on the book. And then I guess every week they went to pay for it. I know my mom had one at Miss Cohen, and then she had a book thing at Mr. Diamond. She got gas there. And I think about it, I can remember her filling up her car for $2 or less. But they put it on the book. And she went when she got paid once a month from the school board. She went and paid it. She went and paid those people. I think the guy at the bar must have had a book too. I don't know his name. That ran what was the name of that bar on the corner?
Harvey's
Bar.
Mermaid.
Yeah. The Mermaid. Yeah.
Yep.
That was a big hangout for the black men on Friday afternoon. Everybody cashed their checks there, and then they wasn't allowed to go inside. They sit out to the outside, and they had to use a window.
Yep.
You know, people say to me today, Diana, why don't that bother you? And I said, well, we passed that. That's in the memory. So it's good memories, how we overcame that. And the same thing is about going in certain places. Those are memories now. Because I think about a situation, and I discussed it with someone not too long ago, about Mr. St. Orange. Now, we could shop in his store. And he had a lot of black guys working for him, delivering groceries to Jupiter Island.
He did.
And they had a counter in there where you could get food. But we wasn't allowed to sit at that counter. But he had these black guys working for him. And he trusted them with everything. With taking the groceries. They could have took the groceries and did it somewhere else. But we never was able to. We could buy stuff at his store, but we couldn't go to sit at that counter to eat. And Miss Cohen, she was totally opposite from that. She was Swedish, I think, wasn't she?
Yeah,
I think so. She was a doll. Her and her husband, I could see them right now. A little jolly, fat guy. He always looked like he could be Santa Claus to me. But she was a doll, and it hurt me to my heart when I passed that one day, about 4 years ago, when they bulldozed that building down.
Yeah.
That building, I just hoped that it would be saved, but it didn't get saved. Because here in America, we tear down everything.
Yeah, we do.
When you go overseas, you say, wow, when they tell you these buildings are years old. Okay, go back to school. So when you finished up at Hobe Sound, we had to go to, before me, I was the first 7th grade class to go to the Murray School. We went, you had a day at what they call a day of learning what's at the big school. So I remember we went to Stewart Training School that morning, and they bused us to the Murray School, which was going to open up and be the new Murray Junior Senior High School. It was called Carver Gardens Elementary School at the time, because the kids had quit going to the one-room school, which I was a part of getting some of that history preserved and getting the historical marker with the Black Heritage Initiative Association. And we got that historical, but we went to the Murray School. And Murray School was junior senior high school, which means from 7th to 12th grade. And I went to that school from 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And in the 9th grade, looking to go back there in the 10th grade, we had what they call that was in 1967. Something happened, and they were talking about getting these schools integrated. And I don't know, because they were getting in a lot of trouble, and Martin County wasn't going to have that happen. So they decided that when Mr. Edwards decided to quit and go back to Fort Pierce, he was our principal. They were going to bring Mr. Nowitzki to be our principal at Murray. And boy, that word got out, and we boycotted for 3 weeks, I think. I'm not quite sure. But we boycotted. And I can remember the day when I left home and had the meeting, and my mom had gone to the meeting. And these are the words that my mom said to me, being an educator in the school system. If they walk out, Diana, don't you be the last one sitting in the classroom, and don't you be the first one out the classroom, not going to school. I said, okay. So I went to school on the bus that morning, and I'm hanging back. Nobody was going to school but about 2 or 3 kids that was on our bus. They went into class. but everybody was outside. And we boycotted. And that went on for many days that we didn't want Novisky for our principal. We wanted Mr. Odom. So the school board said, oh, hell with them black folks over there carrying on like that. We'll fix their asses. I know that's what they said. Probably didn't, but that's my opinion.
In your mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they said, you know what we'll do? We'll just close down Murray School and make our asses go to Martin County High, and we'll solve all these problems. And that's what happened in 1967.
Wow. That's how it
That's how
happened.
it happened. The schools got closed down, and when I went to 10th grade, we went to Martin County High. And that was the end of Murray Junior Senior High School. And it became a Murray ninth grade school. And all the ninth graders from the whole county went to Murray. And in middle school, I think your mom might have been still working there. I don't know, Harry.
Yeah,
Up at Stewart Middle
Stewart
School.
Middle School, yeah.
Yeah. They went to Stewart Middle School. Some of the kids had to go there. And the Indiantown kids came, I don't know which way. I think they still came to the Murray School for the ninth grade. And I don't know where they went to junior, senior high. Maybe the Stewart Middle School, I'm not sure. Because Indiantown at the time only had elementary.
Yeah, I think.
But anyway, that's what happened. And we went to Martin County High School, and that was the setup of that. And Johnny was the first kids had gone to Martin County High School 5 years before that on the freedom of choice. Mm-hmm. Martin County had integrated that to try to get the schools integrated so that the government wouldn't be on them. So they had freedom of choice. So there were quite a few kids that the NAACP picked to go to these schools to go integrate. Some went to Hobe Sound, Port Salerno, Jensen, Indiantown schools. But my mom wouldn't let me go to those schools. She said, "You're going, where you going?" And so we went to Martin County High. I didn't have a hard time at Martin County High with the integration, but a lot of people did. And those same people have problems today, ones that had problems. Oh. Okay? I have friends that I met at Martin County High School, white friends, girls and boys, the first day I went. And they're still my friends today. I graduated in 70, and it's what year is it now? 26. They're still my friends today. Yeah. They came to my wedding when I married Johnny. And I got married to Johnny when I was in 11th grade.
You were?
Uh-huh. I got married to him in 11th grade. And I went back. I only went to school for 11 and a half years because I had Yolanda.
Oh.
And
she's an angel.
That was interesting because, like I say, I still have friends today. I just lost a dear friend. She died a couple months ago, Marion Volvo. She was my type. Her daddy was up in the school board, and my mom knew him real good. I knew her parents, and we were very good, close friends. And I could just name off at least 6 or 7 girls and boys that went to school with me. Remember when the schools integrated, the buses integrated. Yeah. So we had to ride on the bus with the white kids. Some of them were nasty, and some of them were nice. But, I always say what you taught at home comes out where you go. Oh. If you're taught that black people are bad, even to this day, it's still there. Yeah. Okay? So that was the school part. I graduated from Martin County High School, and then I went to Indian River Community College. And then I started working at Martin Memorial Hospital in 1973. And I worked there for 45 years. When I went to work there at Martin, there were 19 doctors. And it was a very small hospital. They were building that tower. And so I always had an advantage over everybody that came to work thereafter because I learned doctors as they came. And they had to learn all. When I left there, I think it was 450 doctors. Mm-hmm. And I knew all of them. Wow. And the ones that I grew up with, most of those guys are retired or have died. But it now belongs to Cleveland Clinic. Mm. And it's not the Martin way that I knew. And but it was a good learning experience. I met a lot of people along the way there. And still now, when I walk in, they're still all new people. But I worked there at that building. I can't imagine that I outworked my mom. She worked 40 years for the school board. I outworked her at that hospital. Taking care of patients, knowing people, talking to people, learning their histories. because I always ask people, how did you find Martin County? It was always interesting to me how people find where I was born and raised. Um, I'll say another story I forgot to say. In growing up in Banner Lake, I never moved very far in my life. I was raised on that corner of Mars Street in Florida. When I married Johnny, we moved two streets down and one house over on Psychic Street. And we lived there for 6 years. And then 6 years later, I moved back past my house on Florida and two lots over. And I lived there now all my life for 50-some years. I tell people, I don't know what it's like to live in an apartment or anything like that. I've always lived in a house, a house that I really owned. That's an interesting fact. I think about it. I say, really, Diana? I never moved out of Hobe Sound. I am a real native. I've never lived nowhere else. That's why when I see people have these tags, I'm like, you moved out of Hobe Sound before. I've lived here all my life.
Yeah.
And I've watched all the changes. And I like to keep things. I know we can't stay like the little Hobe Sound, but it's not the same. People's moved here. They have attitudes. And they want to change things, which is good, and some is bad. Back to Harry. Yeah, we didn't tell the Harry story. We didn't tell the Harry story. I forgot about that.
Oh, no.
So when we used to walk to the store, to Miss Corn's store up Mars Street, we had to go past Mr. MacArthur. And he always had a bird dog that was bad, and we was always scared of that dog. And so that dog would come out and we'd run back, and then we'd sneak back past. And we swear he would put it out at us, but I don't know. I don't think he did. The dog was just loose because we didn't have no.
Yeah.
All the dogs in Banner Lake lived in the streets.
Yep.
I don't think no
Same
dog lived in the house like we got house
never
dogs.
tied up. Yeah, they were never
Nope.
tied up.
And it's funny. I think about that. At night, in the morning, you see all the dogs go out and meet. We had a shed there. They'd go lay under the shed.
Yep,
And at night, when night came, all the dogs went back home and slept under the porch or wherever their home was.
Yep.
They ate and slept under the porch. But anyway, when we walked to the store, we see this little boy up in the tree. And we say, wow. Something's wrong with that boy there. That Mr. MacArthur think they got it going on over there with those kids. That one, he got something special going on. And so we go on to the store and come back. He'd be half naked. He wouldn't have no clothes on half the time. And I would say, who's that kid? They need to do something with him. I don't know. I think he liked to entertain us too, too. But anyway, as time goes on, and I don't think I met you, Harry, until you came back here from Hawaii.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. But I knew Harry's sister, Sally. Sally was in school with us. She was a very nice girl. She rode the bus with us. What little time she did come to school, because when y'all did her interview, I didn't realize that we missed her whole year when she had
surgery.
That surgery. I didn't realize that until then. Because, by that time I was already into my married life and still going to school and whatever. But so I got to meet this kid. I said, was you the kid that used to be up in the tree? Half naked. He says, I guess it was me. I don't think it was John. I said, it looks like it was you. But you know what? That was the best memory that I could ever have of him. Because he is such a great guy. And he has supported Hobe Sound past 100%. Because there's nothing I have ever asked him to do in Hobe Sound as far as when we were Women's Club and we used to do gifts. I can remember one little kid when I went to deliver one bike. This kid said, I don't have a bicycle. Nobody bought me one. And I remember walking in the bar, and it was still a bar then. And I said, the guys was all at the counter. I says, guys, I need somebody to get a bicycle for me. And so I don't know whether it was Harry or whoever it was, but in about 3 hours, there was a bicycle sitting on my door to take to this kid. And that's only one of the things that I've noticed. And I don't know whether that was the inkling of Harry starting this Natives Helping Natives.
Helping Natives, yeah.
Because he realized that we're in need for things like that in the community. Not both black, I think, But I'll tell you another thing we always had fun with was the Christmas time when we used to have Jupiter Island
Oh, that
come
was the best.
on the fire truck.
Yeah.
Mr. What was his name? He lives over here across.
It was.
He was the chief of police.
It was Jack Curry.
No, he wasn't the Santa Claus.
Broderick.
Mr. Broderick.
Broderick.
Mr. Broderick was Santa always. We knew.
Yep.
We knew
We
who
knew
he
who he
was.
was. Yeah.
And every Christmas Eve, we would hear the fire trucks cranking up and the horns blowing, and everybody went to the Banner Lake Club to wait to talk to Santa to get your Christmas stocking.
Hmm.
And it wasn't I don't even know if they still make Christmas stockings anymore. It was a net bag with Christmas stuff in it.
And it had like a pack of crayons. Or
Yeah,
something
it
in
was just, but it was very special.
Yeah, it was.
Nobody, you gave a kid that today, they say, what are you doing with that? They would, behind your back, they would say, what that piece of shit you giving me? You know,
we thought it was wonderful.
Oh, we thought it was wonderful. It was a stocking, net stockings. I gotta look. I know they still make them for pets because I saw them in the pet mart for pets at Christmas time. But I don't think they make them for kids anymore. Those net stockings, but they used to sell them. But Jupiter Island must have ordered hundreds of them, and they came out and gave them out every year, and along with a basket of fruit and nuts.
Yeah.
You got a paper bag with fruit and nuts in it. But that was growing up in Banner Lake and growing up in Hobe Sound.
Yeah.
But Harry has really compensated for all kind of things that people might not have liked his father for. And I really appreciate him for being able to do these things and being able to gather money for that. If you want to know about my children, I have 2 kids. My husband's name was Johnny Owens, and he died in September. He left me. We were married a couple weeks ago. Last week, in fact, 57 years we would have been married.
Wow.
We were married 56 when he died. Can you believe that? I was 16, 17 when I married him, and I lived with him all those years. That's amazing. They don't go like that now.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't work now.
No, it doesn't work now.
No.
I remember a lot of days that I could have said, throw it up the towel, but we always worked everything out in the end. He was a soft gentleman, never was high, never raised up. I was the raised upper in my lifetime.
And a mason.
Yeah, he was a mason, and he was the welcome wagon in Banner Lake in his late life. Anytime anybody moved in Banner Lake, my husband would take his golf cart, go around, visit him. What you need done? I said, where you going? Oh, these people moved in that house. I'm gonna fix their toilet for them. I said, what? And he would be the welcome wagon. Whatever they need, fix their faucets outside. And he never charged them. But he was the welcome wagon. I saw a guy the other day, and he said, I'm sorry to hear about your husband. He was one of the first guys I met in Hobe Sound, Banner Lake. But my daughter, she lived here all her life too, but she did go away to college up at Indian River. Up at Tallahassee, Florida A&M. And she works at House of Hope. She has 1 kid. And she's married to Charlie. And she lives in Port Salerno. And she works at House of Hope for about 16 years. She's one of those people that people call when they need things. And she's a social worker there, a case manager. And I think she still enjoys the job. It's a pain in the butt, though, but she still enjoys it. It's nice working for House of Hope. And my son, Jason, he doesn't live here in Hobe Sound. He lives in Tallahassee. He lives in the woods. He says he can't live in the city. He lives on almost 10 acres of land and no animals, but 2 dogs and a lot of cars, though, right now. He's collecting cars and trucks. But he works for Geico Insurance, and he's been with them for, I think, 16 years.
And he was an amazing golfer.
Yeah, he played golf. Played golf in college.
Yeah.
My husband's job before he became a plumber, for 22 years he made golf clubs in Jupiter. Most people don't realize that there was a custom golf course place in Jupiter called Tony Penna. And right now my attic I got to get somebody to go up there and get all those golf clubs out of my attic. They're up there, antique ones, a lot of old golf clubs. But he made golf clubs there for 20-some years, and then he had a career change in his 40s and became a plumber. And he did a little air conditioning. He bumped around with that because when they didn't have plumbing jobs, he did the air with the other guys. Um, but yeah, he played golf in college, but he realized that he was not going to be a professional. And the people in Martin County was very, very good to him, supporting him in his golf. All the local people here in Hobe Sound, they
Well,
supported him.
junior tournaments and other stuff, he would be always in the running, whether it was in Dominican Republic,
Oh,
in
right, yeah.
Scotland, and I mean, you're not talking about a guy that just went and played golf.
No.
I mean, on the competitive level, he was always, and I mean, many a days it'd be a 2-day tournament. He would lead after the first day.
Mhm, yeah.
You know,
Yep.
we always kidded what happened the second day, and we didn't understand whether a girl got his eye or something.
Oh, wow.
We'd blame it on everything else because it couldn't have been Jason's
Yeah.
fault. Because Jason is just,
When we
he
was,
can do nothing wrong in my eyes.
Oh, wow.
Is what you know.
yeah, when he was 13 or 14, we got selected to travel to Scotland and England on a junior golf tour. And we went over and played golf there and watched the 1995 British Open. They called the U.S. British Open, the Open. And that's the year that John Daly won.
Oh,
And we were at St. Andrews. And that was an experience for him and me and Johnny. And after that, we got invited down to the Dominican Republic to a big golf tournament there, an international tournament. And we went there for 3 years. And he played down there, and he won a couple times down there. And I have to say, I was telling him on the phone the other day, I said, Jason, junior golf is nothing like it was in your time in Martin County. Oh, he said, they don't have a junior open no more. I said, nope, they don't. Because there was Jackie Williams, that was his teacher for years at the Martin County Golf Course. And she ran that program, her and Lynn, they ran that program up at Martin County for many years. And right now, I don't think we have the junior golf going on here in Martin County like we did in the 90s.
that's too
In the
bad.
90s, it was very, very strong.
It was strong.
Kids would come out and play just for fun, and some came to be competitive. And it left a lot of good people in my life with that, with golf with him. And any more questions y'all guys want to ask me?
Well, like you said about not locking your doors. Now, like, see, on the back door of the restaurant, we didn't have a lock on it. Well, you had a bar that you would push through to the side. And that's like Harry Jackson and, Shaky McLean. If they need a bottle of wine in the middle of the night, they could just come pull it out. If they needed it, if it was Sunday afternoon and you went to the beach, they could go in and just take a bottle and then just tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the way it was. I
Yeah.
mean, but,
Yeah, but that's
Harry Jackson, he was like family to us.
oh yeah,
It's
a
funny,
great
Diana,
man.
that when you said you never had a house key,
never.
I never realized that. I don't even think we had a key to our
Mm-mm,
house.
we didn't.
It- Our door was, you could go there at 3:00 in the morning.
No.
That door was open.
No,
open.
never.
And nobody would come in.
Mm-mm.
That wasn't
Yep.
supposed to be there. And you just brought back so many memories for me, walking across to the neighbor's house and getting a cup of sugar.
Mhm.
And you would literally bring a cup of sugar back and
Yep.
pay him back because you wanted to make a cake or whatever.
Right.
It was just a much different time. And the one thing for me, growing up in Connecticut, it wasn't as segregated. And it wasn't until I went into the airborne, I first got stationed for my training in Alabama.
Mhm.
And I flew out of Boston with a friend of mine, Kevin Stovall, black kid. Never thought anything about it
Right.
because it's up north. It's a lot different. Well, I didn't realize it. So we got to Alabama, and we were working our way to the base, and we were in the little town. And I said, well, let's go in and get something to eat before we get there because you don't know military what it's going to be like. And we went into a restaurant. We sat down at a table, and the waitress just kept walking past us, walking past us, walking past us. And finally, I said, excuse me. And she turned around and she said, we don't serve mixed couples. So I looked at Kevin and I said, she thinks we're gay. and he said, I said, did you hear what she said? And he said, yeah. And so I stood up, and this big guy came out of the kitchen with his apron on. And I said, excuse me, we're just trying to get something to eat. He goes, we don't serve mixed couples. I said, we're both married, not to each other. We're not gay. And he goes, where are you from, son? We don't serve mixed couples. You're different colors. And I was like, this is real? Like I was so, and Kevin's, so I I was ready to scrap. And Kevin goes, Bob, it's different. You don't understand it. And he dragged me out of there. But that was my first real experience.
Right.
And
I've had people tell me that.
It was so shocking because we were just, and part of it, you said it earlier, that it's how you're brought up at home. My dad taught me from the time I was a little boy that a person, whether they're doing brain surgery or whether they're pumping septic tanks, a person is a person. And a good person is a good person, and a bad person is a bad person. And that's just how we were truly raised like that. Yeah. So when I came down south and hearing you, even that wasn't that long ago. First of all, how are you 72 years old? That's
73.
73. That's the first problem I have, because you do not look like you're 73.
I feel like
I feel like
but you know, hearing your stories, it's for some of us, it really wasn't that long ago that it was like that. But I think a big part of your person that I see, and the reason that you've had such a good life, is that's how you set out to look at things. You look for the good. And I could tell when you walked in this morning, and I didn't know, I saw you and I said, you look really sharp today. And you exude this kindness and this friendliness. And you said it, the people that had problems then still have problems now. And I heard that loud and clear.
Yep. It's just like, you know, I'll back up to work at the hospital. Okay, so when I went to work at the hospital in 73, remember we had no computers, and it was still, hospitals were still segregated in 73. Okay? Even though our schools got integrated, and segregation was still there until, in fact, in some places it's still there. Because I asked for a bathroom somewhere not too long ago, and they said they didn't have one. Okay? We had rooms were segregated in 73. I can't remember what year we lifted that. And how we kept track of it. Every patient had a blue addressograph card, like a credit card. We called them addressographs back then, and that's how we charged them for everything they got. We ran it through the old manual, slide thing.
I remember those.
And we had a rack, and you had a card. And on that card, we had codes on those cards. If he was number 1, he was a white male. If he was the number 2, he was a white female. If he was a number 3, he was a black male. And number 4, which I was, a black female. If he was a 5, he was an other. That means you were Spanish, Japanese, or whatever. We couldn't tell what you was. If you was a 6, you was a woman. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 was a male, and 6 was a female, other. And I had more fun with that. And that's how we placed patients in rooms.
Really?
Because the black went to there, we put them together, and then the whites was put together. Okay? And then we did have a change on that. I can't remember exactly when it happened, but we did finally get out of that program. But we had a couple Spanish doctors, and we used to laugh about that shit all the time. I used to say, Dr. Leon, or he would say, Diana. He'd say, you ahead of me. And I said, yeah, I'm ahead of you. We would joke about it. He says, I'm a 5 and you a 4. We would have more fun about that. But that was in the hospital setting. A lot of people wouldn't have known that existed. But I worked there, so I knew.
So
it
you
existed.
knew.
You wouldn't have known that by looking at a piece of paper with that on your medical record when they stamped it on your chart. You wouldn't have known what that code meant. I did.
No kidding.
Okay? Your birth date, your hospital number, when you was admitted, your birth date, it was on that card. I wish I would have saved one of those suckers, but I didn't. But that was still segregation. It went on a while in the hospital setting. And it's just like thinking now that patients smoked in their hospital beds. Yep. I think about that now, how nasty that was.
How crazy, right?
Only time they didn't smoke was when they was on oxygen. If nobody could smoke in the room. We used to have to move more patients out of other people when they got put on oxygen. Yeah.
I had an aunt that had the oxygen, and she used to smoke cigarettes.
Oh, yeah. But it's so funny. And then they went from that to employees not smoking. No, employees couldn't smoke in every lounge. We had no non-smoking lounges for employees. And lucky my floor, the 3rd floor, where I worked, was a smoking lounge, and I don't smoke. And they used to drive me crazy. Because I would go in there, I'd have the maintenance guys, they hated me. Come clean that filter. I need it cleaned. Once a month, that filter has to be cleaned. And I would have to spray the room. I sprayed it before I had lunch every day.
Well, it's funny. Smokers don't realize like their clothing and everything.
Mm-hmm. They don't. And it's funny because when you travel overseas, my first experience overseas, I didn't notice this so much when Jason, 95. I remember going in a restaurant in England, and I'm like, why are these people smoking in here? Because they still don't
No.
separate smoking in those countries over there.
No.
They don't. No, they don't. It's weird because when me and Johnny traveled on our 17-day circle of Europe, we would go in a restaurant or we would be with our group. And lucky in our group, I think it was 36 of us, 37 of us. I don't think but one person smoked. So that made it pretty nice.
Well, it's funny though, because when we were young, everybody smoked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just pushed down. I remember, going to family events and all the adults be in the house.
And people used to smoke in their houses.
Yeah, in their house.
Most smokers don't smoke in their homes now. I noticed that. But I know we went to look at a car once, me and Johnny, a truck. And I'll tell you, that truck reeked of smoke.
You never get that smell out. You never get that smell out.
No. So, what else I need to tell y'all guys? Anything else?
Well, let's talk about we had so many great athletes out of there. And everything else from when they had the boxing ring on the street to the championship basketball team to, we can think of all the things.
I tell you what we had was, I was talking about this the other day. It was Sunday afternoons in Bound Lake was always either 2 or 3 things. You had a ball game going on at the adult men, the little major league thing. And teams came from Belgrade to play. And it's funny, you think, how did they arrange this stuff when we didn't have good phone service?
Yeah.
I think they did it by, when they met the first time, we'll see you in 2 weeks on at 4 o'clock. And people went on their word. You think about, before we had cell phones, how did people communicate? Like I was talking to someone about my mom's father. He lived in Jupiter until he lived to be 99, and he still lived alone until my mom brought him to live with her. But he grew squash. My dad, Grandpa, I don't think he never had a real job. I tease my mom about him. He was a farmer and a fisherman. Huh. And he fished under the bridge there in Jupiter, going to the major bridge in an old wooden boat, and he caught sheephead, and he sold them in the neighborhood. And he didn't drive. He never had a car.
Wow.
People would pick him up and take him back out to West Jupiter. And he had squash he grew, right? If you're going down A1A right now, past that yellow building, in fact, it's on Jupiter Beach Road, where the old bridge used to be years ago. It was a barn there. And he farmed on it, like an acre or 2 land there. He grew squash and eggplant. And he would wrap them up. And my mom would go to Jupiter at least 2 or 3 times a week to see her sister. But every Thursday or every other Thursday, we would go to Jupiter. And they didn't communicate because they didn't have cell phones. And he would know when she was coming. So I think my mom would say, Dad, I'll be down there Thursday at 4 o'clock in a week to pick you up to take the squash. And he would load those in the trunk and in the back seat with me. And we would go to Pompano, to the packing house down there. Y'all know where it used to be a farmer's market. It's still there in Pompano Beach.
Is it?
Yep, it's still there. I went by to check on it. And my mom would take him down there. Remember now, we didn't have the turnpike and we didn't have 95.
No.
So she either went down 441 or Military Trail or US 1. That was the only routes we had to travel. And we would go down there and he would sit there and sell those produce up into the evening. To the guys at the stores would come there and buy from them. We didn't have an Erston then. Yeah. The people from the stores would come there to the dock and get what they needed from the local farmers. And he would sell those eggplant and those squash. He would have them all in the bins ready to, and we would load them up in my mom's car. She didn't have a truck. And we would stack that car in that trunk tight, and he would sell that. And that's how he lived out in West Jupiter. But back to Hobe Sound and the ball games. We had 2 things that was very entertaining to me. I don't remember the boxing stuff. I think they did that at the clubhouse.
Oh, well, they did it right by the shelter up here.
Oh, okay.
Right on your
right
street.
by my house. I don't remember that
They
at all.
would put temporary ring right in the middle of the road,
See, I
on
know
the dirt road.
I know Solomon Harris was a big boxer.
Yeah.
But I remember you had the ball games at the ballpark.
The ball games.
And that drew people from all over.
All over.
Stewart, Jupiter, West Palm. They would come and they would have baseball games, sometimes 2 or 3. And we would go up in the white sand. Yeah. When I went to the park, where the Pine School is now, that was the most beautiful white sand you ever want to see. And we'd go up and it was a hill. We'd go up there on the top of the hill and just roll down and just have fun playing in the white sand. It was just amazing. I ride back there now and I go, Pine School took all that sand away.
Yeah.
But the ball field.
Jump off the top.
Yep, jump off the top of the hill and roll down that hill in the sand. Get your hair all messed up. Your mom ready to whip you behind when you got home for all that darn sand in your hair. Because, our hair had grease in it. And that grease would stick. So you was in trouble. Oh, God, yeah. Who cared? You just take it what you had to do. You had fun. Take the consequence later. And another thing they would do, and I look at Bridge Road right now on a Sunday afternoon, they would block Bridge Road off from Lantana all the way to US 1. Yeah. They would just literally block it off. Yeah. And the people had to come up and come down Alamanda and Mars Street to get back to US 1. Nobody complained about it. Yeah. And they would race motorcycles up and down that road.
They would stand on the seats.
Yes.
And they would do
They would race motorcycles.
They were doing all that then.
All that. And nobody ever complained about
Starlight Garden.
Yep, Mr. David Miller had the Starlight Garden there. Oh, I forgot to mention Miss Essie Baker's store and Mr. King. Those were all stores along Bridge Road there. Very self-sufficient. Starlight Garden was a lounge and bar and everything. And then you had Miss Essie. She made food, and she had a store where you bought candy and ice cream and kerosene for your for your heater. You always had the kerosene stands. You bought your kerosene from them.
One was the Dewdrop Inn.
The Dewdrop Inn was Miss Jessie's. Oh. That was on Alamanda. Okay. But the racing of the motorcycles, I said, how dangerous that was. Yeah. And the cops would come and look at it.
Yeah. Oh, cops would watch it.
Yes.
Cops were watching.
People would come
right here. They're
would
part
come
of
from
it.
all over.
They're clapping.
You know what I can remember? Nobody ever got hurt, as I can remember.
I never saw anybody get hurt. It was like the big time. It was like Super Bowl when it would happen.
Big time. They would race those cars up, not cars, the motorcycles up Bridge Road, on Bridge Road, because that was a good paved road. But you know what? It was rock paved back in those days. It had rocks. You couldn't walk on it with your bare feet. Yeah, and another interesting story I have to talk about, I forgot. As a kid in the summer too, when we didn't do all those other things, we went in the bushes and got hickory nuts. Oh, I don't know if you know about hickory nuts.
Yeah, I know about hickory nuts.
That is the stupidest thing in the world. Now as I think about it. They're little nuts, and we would take a hammer and beat them after we got them. And take a hairpin and pick them out. And ate those darn hickory nuts. We just had so much time on our hands. Yeah. Then another thing we did too as a kid. These stories are all coming back in my mind. We would get a mason jar and put water in it. We didn't have them cups and bottled water back in those days. And we'd head off to the beach. And we would walk all the way across Jupiter Island, maybe 10 of us. And we'd go walk to the beach. Now, we couldn't go to the beach that was right there. No. The black people had their beach all the way at the end down there where they have that state park now.
Yeah, the refuge.
Where I walked
that was
every
our
day.
Beach. Yeah. That was where the black, and we had a pavilion there. And I'll tell you what, I've been looking for a picture of that pavilion because that is history. And it had Negro Beach or Colored Beach. I think it had Colored Beach on the front of it. Yeah. That'd be so interesting to have a picture of that pavilion there.
I bet somebody out there has one.
No, I don't think so. Because we didn't take pictures back in those days.
Nobody had any money to take pictures.
Because, most of my classmates don't have baby pictures of them. I have baby pictures of me. Because my mom always took me to Stewart to Mr. Runke and got pictures made. Okay. I have to share a picture with you one of these days that I have. It's the ugliest picture in the world. But we would take that bottle of water. walk to Jupiter Island, because it was hot. Not as hot as it is now, I don't think. And we'd walk all the way to the inlet, all along the beach. Lay down in the water, rest, walk in the water. And I keep thinking now, was we going to Peck's Lake or were we going to the other inlet? Because they're fighting about that Peck's Lake now again.
Yeah.
Because they really disturbed that
Yeah.
when they closed it up.
Yeah.
You knew about that story, right? But I think we passed Peck's Lake and walked all the way up to the ocean open one.
Well,
Because it was open water. And it would take us all day long. We packed sandwiches and that bottle of water in a mason jar. We knew not to drink too much at a time. We sip it. Mm-hmm. We didn't have bottles like we got now to take with us. But we took water because we knew we needed water. And we took food. And we had more fun walking all the way up the beach.
Wow.
That's a lot of walking.
That's a lot of walking.
The kids wouldn't do that now.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
And
And
then you're talking 1.5 miles just to the public beach. Then you're talking close to 2 miles to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So just there, what you're
that's
3.5 miles.
Yeah, and
there.
then you got to go past. But once you get past there, it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty quick once you get past that. But that was a good thing there with the beach. We used to walk to the beach. To this day, I'm not a beach person. I've lived by the beach all my life, and sand gets everywhere you don't want it to be. But that was my story. I used to go to the beach every day because I had those Florida sores on my legs, and that was like, as I went to work at the hospital in my life, we used to do saline soaks with people who had sores, and my mom did it natural when I was a kid. She'd take me to the beach. And that's natural salt water instead of bottled salt water. Mm-hmm. But that was another one of those things that we did in Hobe Sound as a kid, walking up to the beach. And I'm trying to think of some other things that we did. I watched a lot of development come. Time's running out here on us. Okay, I watched a lot of other things happening right now. I never would have thought, and I'll end with this, that we would in Hobe Sound on Mars Street have $2.5 million houses on my street that I lived all my life being built. And actually somebody's going to pay that much for a double house because they're stuck together, duplexes with a baby pool in the back, probably big as this room. But they're building on them, and I assume that they must have somebody who's going to buy them. But Hobe Sound made the biggest mistake in their life when I didn't become a councilman here when they voted to not make Hobe Sound a city.
Well, 66% said no, so
that
why it wasn't even close.
Now people are regretting that because of all the development that's going on. So, thank you, Harry. Thank you, Paul. Bob. I see your business all around everywhere. And
Hailey.
Thank you, Hailey.
Thank you, Diana. This was really enlightening, and I learned a lot more about Hobe Sound than I've been here since 2005, so I'm a relative newcomer next to you.
I want to put one more little thing. I tell them because I'm on the Hobe Sound Historical Society, and it's like, Diane, why are you on that Historical Society? Because I was born and raised in Hobe Sound, and I want to make sure what we're doing is good. The train station. Okay, remember that train station? Traveled all around Palm Beach County, and we finally got it back here. So the other night at the meeting, I hollered out, I said, you know what, guys? And I told them that a long time ago. I can't believe it. I never was allowed to even go in that darn train station. And here I am now. I can walk in as much as I want to. Because black people wasn't at the time it was here.
Yeah.
We had to buy a ticket at the window and wait for the train outside.
Wow.
But here I am. Like I say, I ignore all what went on in the past. It's still history of Martin County. It's still history of Hobe Sound. And I do a lot of Martin County history also because I want it to stay as much as it can. I serve on a lot of boards here in Martin County because I want to make sure that things are going. I'm not going to run for county commissioner or any of those things.
You're too nice to be running for county commissioner. People are too crazy now.
Hey, I never will do that. I'm too old and too sick and whatever. But anyway, thank y'all guys for the interview.
You were awesome. It was such a pleasure.
Ivan's got the apron on, Harry's got his props. sticking